It's a beautiful day. Welcome to the BizBros podcast.
There we go.
My name is Kyle Nelson. If you did not know, and you're a new listener, and I got my amazing co-host here, Eli Libby, is in the house.
Wow.
What's up, Eli? What's going on, my man?
This is what I want. Right?
We got some energy today. We're going to have a great podcast.
Absolutely. Cannot wait.
My beard's almost gone. I have a mustache right now.
Yeah, the stash.
I'm really feeling it.
It's good. I still think you should go full stash, but we'll keep the scruff for now. It's all right. It looks great. I love it, man.
So, entrepreneurship, man. It is a cycle. There's a lot of myths, a lot of truths out there, a lot of struggle, a lot of success.
Oh, phonies too.
A lot of phonies is the truth.
Yep.
But today we have a very cool guest that we're very lucky guests, as I guessed. We have a great guest on our show. No, it would be guest. Why am I? I'm saying the word.
Yeah, you got it.
I don't know.
You nailed it. You got it.
We got a great guest today on our podcast. His name is Nick Kidawski. No, I'm already gonna mess it up.
Nick Kidawski.
Kidawski. Nick helps busy, stressed out business owners and entrepreneurs struggling with intense work demands to retrain their stress responses in the moment so they can become more resilient, make better decisions, and increase performance and productivity. His website is cultivatewellnessnow.com. And today we have an awesome topic of 3 common myths seasoned entrepreneurs face that keeps them stuck in stress and how to break that cycle. Nick, welcome to the BizBros podcast.
Hey, thank you very much, guys, for having me. I really, really appreciate it. And I'll just say that I like the mustache.
Thanks, man. Hey, I appreciate the
Nick,
feedback.
The stash. The stash
let's talk about stash real quick.
Yeah.
The important thing. I've never done just the stash, right? We had a wedding this weekend, and I accidentally put size 1 thing on my shaver, and I thought it was a 3. So the beard got a little too short, and it looks like I just have a stash. If anyone cares out there, which I don't think anybody does, but thank you for the compliment. Nick, what's going on, man?
Oh, hey, I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
Oh, amazing. And Nick, you're in Florida, right?
I am in Florida. Yeah, I just moved here about 2 months ago, actually.
Oh, nice. From where?
From Colorado. I was in Colorado for 14 years. So I was kind of tired of the mountains are beautiful, right? But I was kind of tired of the winters there.
Bam.
Okay.
Love it.
Nice.
Here in Central Oregon, we get those winters, so we understand.
Yeah.
Absolutely do. Well, I'm excited to dive into the topic. Before we dive into the topic, though, Nick, tell us a little bit about you and how you got to be where you are today.
Yeah, sure. So, I was a massage therapist for 9 years.
Oh, nice.
So very interested in stress, how the body holds stress, just how that overall affects people.
Okay.
And as far as the entrepreneur piece, my grandfather was actually a serial entrepreneur. So he owned a banquet facility, a restaurant, car washes, an oil change business, storage spaces, so very, very accomplished entrepreneur. But despite all of that, he was stressed with all of those businesses, and his marriage, there were some problems with his marriage. So he ended up passing away due to a heart attack, unfortunately. And when my father was growing up, he was working in all of those businesses. So when my grandfather passed away, my father took over those businesses. Well, some of them had closed at that point, actually. So there was the car washes and the banquet facility that he was taking care of. But still, that was causing him a lot of stress. And I can remember growing up, him always telling me that he was always worried. He was always concerned about the finances in the business. And all that stress caused him to have high blood pressure. He was on medication for it. Unfortunately, he was overweight, because of all the stress.
Oh, yeah.
So, with the coaching that I do now with clients, I wish that I would have had those tools from my father and grandfather, and I would have been able to help them to manage the various stresses that they had in the moment, so that maybe they might have not suffered those health conditions.
Wow. That's crazy. And it's so true. I think you hear about that a lot. Hear about overworking. I think that hustler mentality really led to a lot of these different stresses related to work. So
I mean, yeah, burnout. It's like a real thing. It's not just like mental burnout, it's body burnout too. You only, you know, your body will respond to how your psyche is. Your body has to be able to output some way, and that usually affects your health and relationships, unfortunately, and this and that.
Wow. Well, that's cool. I think that's a great thing you're doing. Diving into the topic, so we can go through these three, we can make sure to get them all in time. The topic is 3 common myths seasoned entrepreneurs face that keeps them stuck in stress and how to break the cycle. So let's start with myth number 1. What do you got?
Yeah, so myth number 1 is that, the little stressors don't really matter.
Okay.
And the truth is that your body doesn't really care if it's a small stress or if it's a big stress. So when we're under stress on a physiological level, our body releases like 1,400 different chemicals, to try and deal with that stress, right?
Oh.
And like you said just a minute ago, the body can only handle that for so long, before things start to break down.
Right.
So, that's really the thing that someone has to realize is that, like I said, their body doesn't care if it's a small stress or if it's, a big stress.
Okay. That makes total sense.
Yeah, I mean, little stressors add up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, an army isn't just one person; it's 100,000 strong persons.
Exactly.
So it's like it builds up, and those little stressors, man, they could creep up on you pretty bad. And the thing that I always look at too is like my little stress may be a huge stress.
I was just going to say that.
I know. I know. And you know what I mean? And it's like you can't judge people like how they might be feeling, how they like deal with stress.
Yeah.
It might be a little thing, kind of like growing up as a kid, right? I would be stoked on a B in class.
Oh yeah.
Or one of my best friends, he got a B, and he'd get
stressed.
He'd be very stressed. Mom and dad would not be happy. You know what I mean? So it's all just kind of how we all view it. But yeah, those little stresses, man, those build up.
I mean, it's kind of like the stress with, the 1 on the beard.
Yes.
That was a stress to you, but
yes,
to me,
it was.
that wouldn't be.
And then I got compliments all night long at the wedding.
And you got a compliment from Nick. So
yeah,
that's good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But no, that's a super good point is when you're working with your clients, how do you coach them through what a little stress is versus a bigger stress? Because that was the myth number 1.
That's a good one.
Yeah, so given my background as a massage therapist, I'm really a big fan of actually teaching people how to regulate their nervous system. So your nervous system, you're gonna get into that fight or flight state, whether it's a small stress or a big stress, right? So one thing you can do really quickly is if you take the fingertips of your right hand and you just press them a little bit into the center of your chest on your breastbone. What you're doing is you're touching an acupressure point called CV17. And so what you want to do is you want to just take very slow, deep breaths while you're pressing on the center of your breastbone. And what that acupressure point does is it'll help to start to calm your nervous system. And I recommend that people do this, for probably 1 to 2 minutes. And you might need to do it a couple of times before you start to see some sort of benefit from it. But it's just something that you can do that just takes literally a couple of minutes.
And it's nothing. I think that's a huge thing to our audience is like, what are some tips that they can take away from the show?
Love that type of stuff, man.
They're easy. I mean, that took a couple minutes. Nothing to it.
Yeah.
Isn't one of those stress, like, because like a lot of times you want to like change focus too, right? With stress. Like one of the other things, you probably know about this, is like people like dumping their heads in ice water quickly out of nowhere. Have you heard that one?
Yeah. So, we have a nerve in our body called the vagus nerve.
Yep.
And what it does is it controls our parasympathetic nervous system. So for people that are under lots of stress, that vagus nerve can be out of balance and it can keep them kind of stuck in that fight or flight state. So one of the ways to get the vagus nerve back online, so to speak, is to splash your face with cold water. Actually,
literally shock it, right? I mean, it's like
yeah.
Wow, that's really cool.
It's insane, man.
Huh?
I read this article on it, like. It's just like what it does, like physically, neurons and all that stuff.
Wow, that's really cool. All right.
So I think we could dive into the next one.
Yes. Number 2.
Sure. So myth number 2 is that we can perform at a high level under stress for long periods of time. And the truth of the matter is that stress can actually make us do stupid things. So what I mean by that is that, when we start a new project, when we start a new business, we have good stress, right? So like we're really excited, we're doing stuff every day.
Totally.
And then sometimes, if getting back to number 1, if we don't take care of those little stressors, they can become big stressors, and that can just lead right to burnout. What can also happen too is that when we're under a lot of stress, what happens on a physiological level is that the front part of our brain, called the prefrontal cortex, that's involved in decision making, reasoning, planning, creativity, it gets shut offline. So I don't know if you guys have noticed as business owners, but when you're really stressed, it can be hard to make a decision. It can be hard to think creatively about how to solve some sort of business problem, right?
100%.
So as an entrepreneur, like you want all areas of your brain, to be online and to be functioning properly, right? So, another tip that I'll give you around that is when we're under a lot of stress, we tend to kind of live like from the neck up, right? And we disregard what's happening with the rest of our body. But what we really want to do is we want to be grounded. We want to have a feeling of stability in our body. So one really easy way to do that is you do a little bit of a visualization where you bring your attention to your feet, and then you just want to visualize roots from growing from the bottom of your feet deep down into the earth, and just getting a body sense of feeling grounded, feeling stable. And what that does is that starts to bring all that stressful energy that's like up in your head down and through your body so that you can start to release it. And when you're grounded, when you're present, it's going to be easier to make those important decisions. It's going to be easier to, have that meeting with your employees, right? But it's going to be really hard if, again, you're just kind of like stuck up in your head with all of that stress.
Wow. Yep. I love it. I think it's so true, though. I think a lot of CEOs, they are leading with just the top. I mean, they're stuck. There's a lot of stress going on, and it's hard to make decisions sometimes. I think the work that. Right, go ahead. You're gonna say something?
No, you can finish it.
Oh no, well, I don't know. You normally cut me off, so I figured. I'm just saying that the importance of doing these things, these different various things that help your mental health, I think create better leaders. So that's all.
I know a coach I've worked with in the past. They would say when you're like really stressed, I think you were kind of going here, was like close your eyes and like really feel all the senses. Like take your shoes off, let your feet touch the ground, and feel every single little pinpoint on your foot and what it's feeling, and feel the air conditioner maybe hitting you, and like really feel all your senses. And it can help you kind of like desensitize almost. You know what I mean? Like
totally. I've definitely heard a lot of that going on about being grounded. to the ground.
Grounded. I think it's very similar, but I like how you're saying, like, feel roots, and it makes you feel like, transfers the energy down to the feet, and
absolutely
much of that head.
Yeah, love it. I love how you brought some actionable advice to that as well. You brought the myth, and then this is perfect. I think the audience is loving it. So
and what you're doing with the grounding really quickly is you're if you're stuck in like a fight or flight state, when you're doing the grounding, you're giving your nervous system like a resource to work with. So your body says, oh, there's like ground underneath me. I feel safe. I feel stable. And from that place, again, you can make different decisions. You can take different actions.
Amazing. I think it's time for number 3.
Yeah, sure.
I was going to add.
No. Touch on it.
I think just getting back to the root of like not the feet, but the root of the actual myth. Like, it's so true. Like, sometimes you need to stop trying to make a decision and like take care of like the stress, because you need to understand you're not at a level like playing field as you usually are with decision making. That's all I was going to say.
I love that. That's a super good point.
And I think that's pretty much what Nick was saying. I don't know.
Yeah.
Another way to paint the picture.
Yeah.
Skin the cat. All right. Myth number 3. What do we got, Nick?
All right. So myth number 3 is that you'll just deal with the stress later, right? So as an entrepreneur, actually the truth of that is that going back to number 1, the stress will build over time. So as an entrepreneur, if you've been busy all day with meetings, if you had maybe a big sale, a big client that you didn't get, maybe you had a meeting during that day, and a lot of your employees in that meeting were just really stressed. Having the idea that you're going to deal with that stress after work, maybe you're going to meditate, maybe you're going to go hit the gym, maybe you're going to go for a run. That's actually too late, because your body has gone through that fight or flight state several times throughout the day. And then you're waiting until the end of the day to like deal with all of that, right? So what you really want to learn is you want to learn how to work with your stress in the moment. And I have one more exercise for you guys.
All right, let's do it.
This is actually my favorite one, because it works with the heart. So it's very simple. What you do is you just bring your attention to your heart or to the center of your chest.
Okay.
And then you want to slow down your breathing. So you want to breathe in maybe for a count of 5, and breathe out for a count of 5. And you want to imagine your breath flowing in and out of your chest, in and out of the center of your heart. And what that does is, again, it takes you out of your head into the center of your heart. And the reason that's important is because science has shown us that your heart actually sends 4 times as much information up to your brain than your brain does to your heart. So when you're orienting to your heart, you're sending a different message up to your brain, saying like, hey, chill out, relax, it's okay. And this is something that can be done in the moment with your eyes open. It's not meant to be like a meditation or anything like that. But the really great thing about this is you guys have employees, don't you?
Yes, sir.
We do.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. So, I'm just curious, if you were to take 5 minutes before an employee meeting and have them ground themselves and have them do this heart-focused breathing, how that would change your meetings, how that would improve them.
Probably would.
Okay. It probably would. Absolutely.
Well,
yeah, we've heard something very similar to that on Susan Drum's podcast when she was on there. Very, very, very similar exercise, talking about fight or flight, she was referencing like a lion chasing a gazelle, and gazelle gets this fight or flight, and then all of a sudden they just go back to they're being chased, and then they get away, and then they just go back to grazing. So it's this fight or flight that kicks in. Now they're kind of back to this normal state. Same exact thing we talked about with
kind of like in the military too, right?
About there.
With
Absolutely.
Marines.
Yeah.
How they can have a level heartbeat and like total focus while they're being shot at by in 15 different directions.
Exactly.
They can still focus.
Same concept. What advantage I'm curious to see your take. What advantage does it do you see from kind of focusing on heart type meditation versus like lungs or head type of meditation? We've heard all three.
Right.
What advantage?
Right.
Is it more right?
Yeah. So when you meditate, for example, all you're doing is you're lowering your heart rate. Exactly. When you focus on your heart, when you do heart-focused breathing, that's different because what you're doing is you're starting to bring your body into a coherent state. And what I mean when I say a coherent state is that your brain, your emotions, your heart, and your nervous system are all working in sync, kind of like an orchestra, right? Where when an orchestra plays, when everyone is in sync, you hear this beautiful music. When you bring yourself into a coherent state, like I said, all different body systems are working in sync. So what that's been shown to do is actually really light up, parts of the brain, like I said, that are involved in, creativity, decision making, planning. When I do something like meditation, and I'm not like knocking meditation at all. I think it definitely has its benefits. When you just lower your heart rate, so to give you an example, let's say that I had just a really stressful day with clients. So afterwards, I just go plop myself on the couch and I watch, I binge watch Netflix, right? So I'm on the couch and I'm relaxed and my heart rate is lowered, but in my mind, I'm still thinking of the day, right? Totally. And I'm still thinking about this client and that happened and that sale didn't go through. So even though my heart rate is lowered, my system is still out of balance.
Right.
Whereas when I'm in a coherent state, all systems of my body are working in sync. So it's a different state than just being relaxed.
It really is. That's a great point. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, myself included, struggle with going to sleep at night and your mind just does not shut off. You are relaxed, you're laying down, your heartbeat's lower, but at the same time you're spinning still. So yeah, I think that's a great point.
And you add the whole layer of like family and friends and the world and everything going on. It's like
yeah, there's a lot of stress out there.
Yeah, there is a lot of stress.
Right. Yes, I mean, as far as the sleep, I would say, just do a simple practice of doing the heart-focused breathing, maybe for 5 minutes before you go to sleep, and see how that helps you.
Will do. I love it. You heard it here.
Well, Nick, thank you so much for giving us those myths and us helping break those cycles and stopping those myths and kind of learn a little bit about how we can deal with those. If there was one thing that you hope that our listeners can take away from, maybe a 1, 2, 3 liner, what is it specifically that's your message?
I would say that, really the most important thing that they could do is to focus on their heart, to start to bring down their stress and use that heart-focused breathing technique several times throughout the day if they need to.
Love it.
I think that
something
is really
we can pass along to everybody.
Yeah, I mean,
it is the core. The core.
Yeah, it is.
Well, thank you so much, Nick.
Yeah, Nick. So if someone wants to reach out, learn more about you, follow your journey, get in touch with your services, how are they going to find you?
Yeah, thanks. So they can visit my website, which is cultivatewellnessnow.com.
Nice.
Awesome. Perfect.
Well, Nick, we appreciate your time. I know that we took away some very helpful tidbits and tricks and techniques that I know that will apply, especially you, man.
Absolutely.
You need to be getting better night's sleep.
Yeah,
what are you doing, man?
Yeah, for sure. I've already used like 4 hours, but all right.
Nick, thanks so much for jumping on the BizBros podcast, man. We look forward to having you again soon.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. It was my pleasure.
Awesome.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, take care.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the BizBros podcast. If you have not yet, make sure to subscribe. Just Google BizBros podcast. We're going to pop up wherever you listen to podcasts. Just go and subscribe. Follow us on social media. And we look forward to listening, talking, chatting, and hearing more from you on the next podcast.